You ever meet someone so infuriating? You swear you'll never speak to them again, but somehow, they become the one person you'd risk everything for? Yeah, that's her story. Julian West was a spoiled, reckless billionaire, never worked a day in his life. Harper Lane was the assistant holding his father's empire together. And now? She's stuck cleaning up his mess. Until the day she goes missing, and he finally realizes he's nothing without her. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Every story here is short but meaningful, crafted to inspire or connect, and maybe even change the way you see things. So sit back, relax, and let today's story take you somewhere new. Let's begin. Julian West looked like sin in a suit. A black Armani blazer hung open across his sculpted chest, the top buttons of his dress shirt undone like he didn't give a damn. Which he didn't. His tie was draped over his shoulder like a trophy, and the blonde wrapped in his lap, squealed with laughter as he whispered something obscene in her ear. Harper Lane shut the office door harder than necessary.
Good morning to you too.
Julian drawled, not even glancing at her.
You're 10 minutes early, Miss Lane. Either you're trying to impress me, or you enjoy watching me sin before breakfast.
The blonde giggled again. Harper's eyes didn't flinch.
Get out.
The girl blinked.
Excuse me, not you.
Harper said dryly.
Well, also you, but him first.
Julian finally looked up, and damn him, those blue eyes sparkled with amusement.
Harper, I have 3 board meetings, a hostile merger on the table, and a PR crisis. I think I've earned some stress relief.
You've been CEO for 6 weeks. You've earned exactly 2 things, a lawsuit and a reputation.
Julian sighed, patting the blonde's thigh.
Sorry, sweetheart. The dragon has arrived.
The woman left with a pout. Harper didn't even glance her way. She dropped a thick folder onto Julian's desk with a satisfying thud.
3 lawsuits from ex-employees, 1 from the woman you tried to sleep with in HR, and a memo from accounting that says, "We're hemorrhaging cash like a Quentin Tarantino film."
He leaned back in his chair and stretched, shirt tightening over his chest.
God, I love when you talk dirty. I fantasize about smothering you with that chair every day.
Julian smirked, but behind the flirtation, Harper saw it, the flicker of exhaustion in his eyes, the hollowness he thought he could bury beneath champagne and cleavage. His father had been dead for a month, and the golden boy, who never wanted the throne, now sat on a crumbling empire. 3 years ago, Harper had worked for the real king. Jonathan West had been brutal but brilliant, the kind of man who demanded greatness from those around him. When Julian walked into his father's boardroom at 29, he looked like the headline of a tabloid. Sunglasses indoors, hungover, cologne strong enough to stun a horse. That night, during a snowstorm at the company's charity gala, Harper had found him on the balcony alone, cigarette in hand, no coat, staring at the skyline like it had insulted him.
Do you ever wonder what it's like to want nothing?
He'd asked her. She'd stared at him, confused.
To wake up and not owe anyone anything. Not legacy. Not reputation. Not guilt.
She hadn't known how to answer him then. She did now.
You want to burn it all down because it was never yours.
She said today, quiet and sharp.
But that doesn't make you free. It makes you a coward.
Julian flinched, just slightly.
Harsh. Did Dad leave you a script for every occasion?
She ignored that.
We're being bled from the inside. I think someone's trying to sabotage the company.
He scoffed.
Please, people just want to see if the Playboy crashes the kingdom. And so far, I'm giving them a damn good show.
Harper leaned in.
Then change the story.
For a moment, the smirk slipped. Just for a moment. Leo Hart stood like a mountain of muscle in a tailored black suit, arms crossed, expression unamused.
You let him bring another one up?
He asked, his tone low, almost scolding. Harper didn't look up from her phone.
She was already halfway out of her dress before I got in.
Leo followed her down the corridor leading to the executive wing.
You don't have to babysit him, Harper. You're not his mother.
No,
She muttered, scrolling through financial reports.
I'm the poor soul trying to make sure this company doesn't go bankrupt because our CEO thinks office hours are optional.
Leo paused, his voice dropping.
This isn't what you signed up for.
Harper stopped, eyes flicking to him. He was always just there, watching, shadowing, protecting. He'd worked for Jillian's father for nearly a decade in corporate security, and since the elder West's death, he'd been increasingly watchful over her.
What did I sign up for, Leo? Coffee runs and corporate funerals?
Her voice cracked, just slightly. Leo softened.
You deserve better than this, than him.
She looked at him then, really looked, at the kindness in his gaze, the quiet adoration he never voiced. But it was there, and it was complicated. Before she could respond, the elevator dinged, and Julian stepped out, talking loudly on his phone. He stopped short when he saw them. Harper tense and unreadable. Leo stoic and too close. Julian's eyes narrowed.
Interrupting something, Mr. Hart?
Leo's jaw ticked.
Just discussing security protocols, CEO safety.
Julian's gaze flicked to Harper.
You're the one who needs protection, Harper. From the wolves. And apparently the sheep in wolves' suits?
She rolled her eyes.
God forbid the wolves feel threatened.
That night, Harper stayed late in the office. The building was empty, quite save for the low hum of fluorescent lights and the dull buzz of her laptop. She should have gone home hours ago, but the numbers didn't lie. Someone was siphoning funds from dormant subsidiaries. Slowly, cleverly. Just enough to stay under the radar. It wasn't incompetence. It was intentional. She didn't hear Julian come in until he spoke.
You know, you're kind of scary when you concentrate.
Harper jumped. He leaned against the doorframe, hands in his pockets, tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up.
You scared off your entire staff today.
She said without looking at him.
They're boring.
He replied, stepping closer.
You're not.
She turned to face him, but he was already too close. The air thickened. Her voice caught.
I found something. Financial tampering, possibly internal fraud.
Of course you did.
He gave her a tired smile, rubbing a hand through his hair.
You're terrifyingly competent.
You're not going to flirt your way out of this.
She warned.
Wasn't trying to.
That surprised her. He stepped around the desk, leaning in to see her laptop. For a moment, their shoulders brushed. A breath passed between them, sharp, electric. Julian exhaled slowly.
You know, I used to think if I worked here, I'd become him.
Your father?
He nodded, jaw tight.
He built this place with blood. I thought, if I touched it, I'd drown in it.
You're not him.
She said softly.
But you're not nothing either.
He looked at her, and for the first time, really looked. Not like a man appraising a challenge or charming a woman, but like someone seeing something precious he couldn't name.
I kissed you once.
He said. Harper's heart skipped.
That night, at the gala. You kissed me back.
She looked away.
You were drunk.
I remember it.
The silence that followed was full of possibilities and regrets. 2 days later, Harper followed a lead on the financial tampering to a warehouse, owned by a shell company under West Corp. She didn't tell Julian. She didn't tell Leo. And that was her first mistake. The second was walking through the front door. She didn't see the man behind her until it was too late. The second Harper's phone hit the ground, she knew she'd screwed up. A hand slammed her against a concrete wall inside the warehouse. The air knocked from her lungs. Her head spun. Before she could scream, a damp cloth was pressed to her face. The world turned black. Julian didn't panic. Not at first. It wasn't until Leo stormed into his office, face like thunder, holding Harper's shattered phone in one hand and a grainy warehouse security screenshot in the other, that Julian's world tilted.
She went alone.
Leo snapped.
She was tracing the missing money. She thought she could handle it.
Julian stared at the image. Harper in a gray trench coat, walking into the lion's den.
She's been missing for 6 hours.
Leo growled.
That's not a lead. That's a countdown.
Julian's voice was calm, but his fingers trembled.
We find her.
Leo scoffed.
You haven't taken a single thing seriously since the old man died. You think this is some soap opera, but Harper, she's real. She's bleeding somewhere because of this company and because of you.
Julian stepped forward, voice steel.
You think I don't know that?
Leo stared. Something unspoken passed between them.
You love her?
Leo said quietly. Julian didn't deny it. Instead, he whispered.
I never believed I could love anyone without breaking them.
Harper woke up in a dark room. Hands bound, mouth dry, head pounding. A man stood across from her. They shadowed, voice low.
You should have minded your business, sweetheart.
She laughed hoarsely.
You're going to regret calling me that.
He backhanded her. She spit blood and smiled.
That all you've got?
She wasn't afraid. Not really. Because she knew Julian would come. Somewhere, buried under ego and excuses. The man she saw glimpses of. The one with soft eyes and sharp wit. The boy on the balcony who didn't want to be a king. He would burn the city down to find her. Julian walked into the boardroom like a storm. Every executive snapped to silence. Leo trailed behind him, dressed for war.
We're being watched.
Julian said coldly.
Internally compromised. Someone sold Harper out.
Gasps. Glances. Julian threw a folder on the table. Inside, evidence Harper had been compiling. Secret withdrawals, blackmail, offshore accounts.
I want every asset frozen, every department head vetted, and I want my assistant back. Or God help you all. I'll bury this company before I let another person die for it.
His voice cracked.
I should have listened to her.
He whispered to Leo afterward.
She tried to fix everything, even me.
They found the warehouse on the edge of the city, abandoned and silent. Julian kicked the door down himself. Harper sat tied to a chair, lip split, blood dried on her cheek. And when she looked up and saw him, she didn't smile. She said,
Took you long enough.
Julian knelt, hands shaking as he untied her.
I thought I lost you.
You almost did.
And then, only then, did she let him hold her. Julian didn't leave her side for 3 days. Not when the doctors stitched her lip. Not when she flinched at shadows. Not when she tried to pretend she was fine, and he saw her hands tremble while pouring tea. He moved her into the guest suite of his penthouse, claiming it was for security reasons, but they both knew the truth. She needed protecting, and he needed to protect her. Harper stood at the balcony, wrapped in one of Julian's oversized hoodies. The city stretched below her, glowing and unaware. Her bruises had faded, but the memories still clung like smoke. Behind her, Julian moved quietly, barefoot, holding 2 mugs of tea.
You always drink green.
He said, offering one. She took it, fingers brushing his. A beat,
You haven't flirted with me in 3 days.
she murmured.
I'm not sure I deserve to.
She turned to look at him, and in that moment, he didn't look like the CEO of a billion-dollar empire. He looked like the boy who stood on that snowy balcony 3 years ago, asking her if wanting nothing meant he was free.
I don't need you to deserve me.
She said softly.
I need you to be.
Be present. Be honest. Be someone his father never taught him to be. Julian reached for her hand, and this time, she let him take it. The board was in chaos. But Julian didn't care. He stepped down temporarily, left Leo and Harper's best friend, an up-and-coming financial analyst named Mara Chun, to stabilize the company while he recovered what mattered more: himself. He began showing up early, not for the press, not for image, for Harper. He sat through every forensic audit. He learned every division from the ground up. He met with the lowest interns and the highest stakeholders, asking the same question every time: what's broken and how do we fix it? Some still called him a joke behind his back. But more and more, they began to call him West, like they used to his father. Only this time, it meant something different. It didn't take long for word to spread. Julian West had changed. And not everyone liked it. The same board member who'd orchestrated the fraud, Clay Demore, a longtime rival of Julian's father, was still circling. And when he saw Julian's affection for Harper growing, he saw weakness. He cornered Harper one evening after hours.
You really think he sees you?
Clay sneered.
You're the help of FaZe. When this blows over, he'll toss you aside like the rest.
Harper smiled sweetly.
Then you've never met a woman like me.
Julian found out, and for the first time in his adult life, he didn't smile or flirt or laugh it off. He fired Clay. Publicly, brutally, and he kissed Harper in front of half the building. They didn't make love that night. They lay on the couch, curled under a blanket, listening to music and the hum of traffic, his hat on her lap.
Do you know what the scariest part was?
She whispered.
When they took me, it wasn't dying.
He looked up at her.
It was never seeing who you could have become.
Julian's throat tightened.
I never wanted to be like him,
He said quietly.
but I don't know who I am without trying not to be.
You're becoming you,
She said.
and I like him.
He reached up, brushing her cheek.
I'm falling in love with you.
He said. She smiled.
Good, because I already did.
The company was blooming again. New investors, clean books, quiet praise in the media calling Julian West the unlikely revival. But Harper noticed something off, a quiet shift in tone. Meetings Mara started skipping, questions Leo kept dodging. Then one night, Julian found Harper on the floor of his home office, surrounded by documents.
Mara's the leak.
She said, voice shaking.
She's been selling trade secrets to Dane Morey's foreign contacts for months.
Julian's stomach dropped. Mara Chun, the woman Harper trusted, the woman he had elevated. Harper held up a flash drive.
And she's trying to pin it all on you.
Julian called an emergency board meeting the next morning. Harper, Leo, and the legal team watched as Julian faced the table where his father had once ruled. He played the footage, laid out the numbers, delivered the speech Harper helped him write.
I am not my father,
He said.
and I am not the man you used to mock in gossip columns. I'm something else now. I'm a man who protects what's his, And this company? These people? Harper?
His voice cracked.
They're mine.
Mara was arrested that night. Harper cried, not because she was scared, but because Julian hadn't hesitated. They didn't speak for hours after the meeting. Julian sat on the floor, back against the couch, head in his hands. Harper stood at the window, arms folded tight across her chest.
She betrayed you.
He said finally.
Because I trusted the wrong people again.
She didn't just betray you.
Harper whispered. She betrayed me. She looked at him then, eyes wet but hard.
And I don't need a man who breaks every time someone lies to him.
Julian looked up.
Then what do you need?
Her voice wavered.
Someone who keeps choosing to get back up.
He stood, crossed to her slowly, touched her face.
Then I'll keep getting up, every damn time. For you.
The media dubbed it the redemption quarter. Julian West tripled profits, cleaned out corruption, donated half his bonus to a foundation Harper started for corporate abuse survivors. He no longer came to work late, or slept with interns, or dodged responsibility. He didn't just become a CEO. He became the man his father never was. And he did it all with Harper by his side. On the anniversary of his father's death, Julian brought Harper to the same snow-covered balcony where it all began.
Do you remember what I asked you that night?
He said. She nodded, eyes shining.
You wanted to know what it felt like to want nothing.
He smiled, pulling a small black box from his coat pocket.
I don't want nothing anymore.
Inside was a simple, stunning gold ring.
I want you, all of it, the fights, the flaws, the mornings you glare at me for breathing too loud. I want to build something real, with you.
Harper choked on a laugh.
You're still an idiot.
But I'm your idiot.
He said. She kissed him before saying yes. Julian West was once a man who thought power came from pleasure, and legacy came from blood. But Harper taught him something else. That love, real, hard, complicated love, wasn't soft. It forged people into kings, into warriors, into protectors. And sometimes, the most broken men become the greatest ones. If someone is brave enough to stand beside them, and daring enough to love them whole. The wedding was private, just 50 guests, a field of white wildflowers, and a handwritten vow that made Harper cry before Julian even got halfway through. He still flirted shamelessly. She still rolled her eyes and kissed him quiet. The company was thriving, but Harper ran her own now. Rebuild, a consulting firm for whistleblowers and ethical startup founders. Julian supported her fully, sometimes even sneaking into her meetings just to watch her work. Leo became their chief of security, and something of a godfather to their golden retriever named Chairman Bark. And every anniversary, Julian took Harper back to that balcony where everything started. Only now, he no longer feared becoming his father. He was building something bigger, kinder, stronger. Because he wasn't the king of nothing anymore. He was the man she believed in. He was a billionaire playboy, living off his father's name, running from everything that mattered. She was the one who saw through it all, the one who challenged him, who made him face the truth he couldn't run from. But it wasn't just love that changed him. It was the courage to face himself and let someone else in. Because sometimes, the hardest thing we have to do is let go of who we were and trust someone enough to let them show us who we can become. It wasn't about the money or the empire or the crown. It was about the heart.